Hi there and welcome to another video. Today is a very special video because I do have a guest. If you look at the previous videos, you see that it's normally me giving advice, giving tips on leadership, on how we can be able to make our businesses and even departments better. But today I have a special guest because I wanted to talk about something which is very dear to me. Reason because here at Corporate Staffing, whenever we are doing recruitment, 4 out of the 10 requests, they have to do with sales personnel. But talking with business owners, talking with sales managers, there's a lot of frustration when it comes with recruiting and even retaining the sales professionals. So today I want us to dive deep because I do have a management consultant. I have someone who's been working with sales professionals for over 10 years now, and he'll give us his take on how to really get it right when it comes to the sales professionals. So karibu sana, Mr. Kageche. John Kageche is his name. And please introduce yourself, tell us about your background, and then you start from there.
Okay. My name is Kageche, as has been mentioned, and in this field of selling, I focus on that. Though as the company represent Lend Me a Years, we cover several other things, but focusing on sales, which is the subject matter here. I've been selling professionally, either training or consulting, or even selling itself for over 10 years, as you've said, close to 20 actually. And across that divide in terms of sales aspects, whether B2B, B2C, business to business, business to customer, across all sectors, you can imagine, I've interacted with the business owners, I've interacted with salespeople, day old, 20 years old, service industry, product industry, and the experience right across has been pretty diverse, and it's quite enriching. So as Lend Me a Years, whereas we cover several aspects, today I'm guessing we're confining ourselves to selling, and I'm happy to be here.
Great, thank you. So it's interesting the way I met Mr. Kageche. I was consulting for this client, and we were recruiting for them sales staff. And because they are launching a new product, and I remember now them saying, because it's a new product, obviously the salespeople we recruited for them, they weren't really familiar with the product. And so that's the time they said, okay, they want to contact this gentleman who writes for the Business Daily, quite informative articles. And I had been following your articles, but that's the time you came in mind. And now even here at Corporate Staffing Services, when we needed some assistance on sales strategy, I contacted him, and he's really been handy in terms of helping us shape our sales strategy. So karibu sana, and happy to have you. So could you briefly tell us, how do you help companies when it comes to their sales department?
The help comes in different ways. It is interesting you asked that. You would assume there's a specific over-the-shelf counter solution.
Yes.
But over the years, I've discovered that is easier said than done. Yes, there's training. You want a training of salespeople. And even that training itself is not standard. Yesterday, for instance, we were invited to a session. I was invited to a session. And what the client wanted was not a training per se, but a training at the same time. They were beginning their year. In fact, they just come from doing a strategy session, then they're broken out the business development team. And so they wanted to have session to address the challenges they were going through as salespeople. Then you have this client last year, the last quarter of last year, did a whole 3-month consultancy with them. And by the way, the ones of yesterday, the business of market research. Now the ones of the last quarter, they do lending, specifically logbook lending. So, and their challenge was that their churn of salespeople is pretty high. And what they wanted was, as I said, a sales consultancy. And for them, what we helped them with is to put in sales operations in terms of systems, structures that will ensure we will facilitate their creating a robust system, because what they had not been working. And so we did that over the 3-month period. Then there are the clients who will come in, and what they will request is, we just wanted to wait. We don't have a training for our salespeople. And even that training differs, because now within sales is pretty wide. We've worked with a financial institution about 2 weeks ago, and what they wanted was for their back office people who've been in operations, who have now been given a portfolio portfolio, a database of existing clients, and how do they grow that database. Then there are other salespeople other clients will require different kind of training. They might require a training in which it's very target specific because of the nature of the product that they are selling. So to answer your question, I guess it would be easy to say we offer sales solutions because it's pretty diverse, and it's rather difficult to confine it into an off-the-shelf product and say this is what we offer. So we offer sales solutions, which time to time, and as you said, we also do recruitment for, if you're looking for specific salespeople, which can be as somebody as high as, for instance, a corporate relationship manager in a bank, to a business development manager, which is what you are looking for, to even you're looking for typical salespeople. So it's pretty diverse in terms of sales. Sales is a word casually used, but quite wide in its meaning.
Okay, great. So now we were talking off camera, and there's this big issue. I believe every sales manager, entrepreneur, business owner faces. How do you recruit and retain the sales personnel?
Oh, I wish it was as easy as that.
And how, in fact, let's start with, how come we don't get it right? I mean, if it was one or two companies, you'd understand. Rarely do you get the kind of reaction when it comes to the sales personnel. I mean, when you talk about accountants, there's no one. I've never met a client lamenting that they've had to hire 5 accountants in a year. Once in a while they get it wrong. Yeah, true. For other professions.
But it's not a pandemic.
But exactly. But sales, you find
sales turnover is a pandemic.
It's a pandemic. It's something which, whether the company is 50 years old or 6 months old,
it's still struggling with.
They're still, So
one of the challenges, Perminus, that I've seen over the years is that very many institutions, very many individuals still see sales, still benchmark sales with the office job. And historically, sales has never fit into the corporate pyramid. It was a later day addition. And that's the genesis of this challenge, because we want to equate selling, the sales job, and benchmark it with the systems and structures that run a desk job. Sales is not a desk job. The desk job works very well in a structured environment. It is almost like a lab. And because it's in a structured environment, the systems and structures that have been put into place work very well for that desk job. Sales is a wild animal. If this is a zoo, sales is a wild animal. And the sales job struggles to fit into the corporate pyramid because it was never designed for that. The sales doesn't have a defined way of operating. And when I say that, people say, no, you cannot just have people moving all over. Actually, yes, you can. This is exactly how it works. Now, the desk job is structured. It is, I'll walk in, this is what I'll do, and when I do this, I expect that result.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Does that mean we can't develop job description? Does that mean we can't develop KPIs when it comes to the sales?
Yes, you can. In the sense of that structure, this is your JD, this is your KPI. Yes, you can. The execution, however, is completely different. In sales, you look for the work. In a desk job, work comes to you.
Okay.
Now, how you look for that work cannot be controlled. Yes, we can even try and write an SOP of this is how we reach out for our clients. We do this, and that's good for the processes. But in practice, you're dealing with one human being going out to look for another human being. And if we are going to try and bottle human interaction, which is what sales is, I think it will be an exercise in futility, because human interaction is as dynamic as two individuals at a specific time. For instance, right now, the interaction we're having, very different tomorrow you will meet, because whatever it is you're going through is different. However, very likely a desk job, you can almost predict what is going to happen when, because you can even box customers and what the normal typical needs are. Now, that is the genesis of the biggest challenge, that we see the desk job, the sales job, and we try and equate it to we see the sales job and equate it to the desk job. And just demonstrate how profound and student can get it wrong, you will have clients who will tell you, we will recruit salespeople. And initially, when banks went into selling, they're the biggest culprit they're the biggest culprit here. You find the bank do decide about 10, 15 years ago, banks really recruited salespeople in numbers. So you find a bank looking for recruiting salespeople, hundreds, some of them even recruited them in the thousands. And because this is a salesperson, he will be on contract, and being a recruiter, and some of that, the difference, he'll not enjoy the perks of the desk job. Yeah. So he's an outsider. Then they demonstrate to the outsider how he or she is going to make money. He can make more and more money depending on the sales they make. And true to the salesperson, and true to what they're saying, the salesperson, one of the salespeople comes out, emerges from the crowd and starts excelling and starts making more and more money as he was promised to, depending on the sales he's making. Keep in mind, he is not part of the pyramid. That was made very clear that he was not part of the pyramid, so he's not going to be getting the perks. He just gets his retainer or his commissions, and that is it. He's not even allowed to step into the office. They're even given secluded in some place somewhere. When this person starts making more and more money, suddenly somebody inside the pyramid starts saying this person is making, let's say, 100,000 shillings or even 200,000 shillings. And yet he is not a manager. Us who are managers are making 200,000 shillings, which possibly took us 10 years before we started earning. This gentleman is less than a year old and is already earning 200,000 shillings, and he's not a manager. He cannot be being paid more than we are being paid. Now, unfortunately, the institution then decides, maybe there's a point there, because we want to create peace inside the pyramid, we forget that we are the ones who told this gentleman that he's an outsider, and we forget also, more importantly, that he is making money for us.
For everyone, yeah.
So, caught in the need to retain harmony within the pyramid, we start frustrating this salesperson. How do we do that? And we don't realize we're frustrating. We start enticing him to come into the pyramid so that we can, because the pyramid, as I remember, it's a controlled environment. And now, unfortunately, you will find that many salespeople fall for that, because then there's warmth in the pyramid. Outside there, the sun is hot. So you come inside here, it's all AC. I'm going to get loans, and I'm going to have a structured job. It'll be 8 to 5. It's not as difficult. So the salesperson now is wooed to come in. And he's wooed to come into the pyramid, and then he's fit somewhere, and then the managers who are complaining are happy because now we can gauge him. But what happens is you cut him off at the knees. He suddenly is not as productive as he could be, because that is what he was intended to do. Now, I've shared that example to demonstrate just how profound that misunderstanding of the sales profession can be by putting it in the pyramid. Now, institutions and insurance companies are well known for this. When that case happens, where the people inside the pyramid start complaining about the person outside, they're very clear. You will even find somebody seen as the MD telling the managers, if you feel you want to earn that money, it's okay. Just step outside the pyramid, go out, resign, get out, go and sell. We have no problem with that, because they know on which side their bread is buttered. Unfortunately, very many other institutions struggle with that. And so that becomes the genesis of that challenge. Now, there are many other factors after that. Nobody in school is told, nobody in school wants to hear a child saying, when I grow up, I want to be a salesman. In fact, people will get horrified, that parents get horrified when you can't say that. Then, because of that, it is not seen. In fact, because of that, when somebody is tamarking, you will hear a family saying, no, he's doing sales while still trying to get him a job. Now, the societal perceptions of the profession are pretty low. Then you will also hear of what else? Because they are low, you're always moving against the grain, societal grain. And what that then means is that everybody is seeing you as less than. And it's quite tragic, because the average salesperson you see in the streets actually carries himself with that stigma, that I am less than, which is pretty unfortunate. Now, here's the interesting thing. Everybody admires a salesperson who is thriving. But everybody looks down upon the salesperson.
Who's struggling.
Yes. Yet,
in fact, generally, we are told I mean, and I see it happening every day. You're told there's someone at the reception who wants to see you, and they're from this institution. There was no appointment. If you hear it's a salesperson, I mean, you not see them. You don't have time for them.
You're dismissed.
Yeah.
And so the salespeople will, many of them carry themselves with that stigma. Now you are in a place where you are working against society. You're moving against societal grain. You are at a place where how you are measured is very different from the people in the pyramid. And then another reason why the turnover is high, a salesperson is a walking billboard. Unlike the desk job, the salesperson is out there. And if he meets you and you're impressed by what you're seeing, why would you want to struggle advertising for a job? The guy is a walking billboard. So you push. And that's the thing. And you cannot stop that. You cannot prevent that from happening. The gentleman or a lady is a walking billboard. He's advertising himself, how good or bad he is. And this happens again and again and again. You get invited, a salesperson gets invited, he's say working for whatever firm that he's working in. Then he goes in fact, let's use the reverse example. Say he works in a bank. And then he goes to make a pitch at a firm, which is a fast-moving consumer good company, for instance. And then during the pitch, he is so impressive that the sales manager, or the FMCG manager, the HR manager tells him, send us your CV. Now, voila. Now that's a third reason. A fourth reason why that happens is because salespeople, as I said, because of the stigma they carry, they don't see themselves as growing in selling. No. Many of them see themselves as transiting into the pyramid. So you will find a salesperson, very few salespeople will think in terms of, I am selling for this bank, but I would want to be the head of sales at this electronics company. I grow within that. Or ultimately, I envisage myself being the chief commercial officer.
So even the professionals themselves, they don't see themselves staying.
Yes.
In the sales profession.
They don't see themselves in the sales profession. And rising to the highest level. Because it is, and I see it's called a profession, but people don't stop to think through what that word means. Because a doctor is a profession, which means he is continually learning, yes, better, precisely,
aspiring to the next level.
Yes. The word profession means exactly that, but very few, extremely few. In fact, unfortunately, you would struggle to find them who grow as sales professionals. So
I have a question for you. Here is a business owner, and more so medium-sized company, and totally frustrated with their sales department. What are some of the things they can do or start doing now to improve? And probably maybe they're at the verge of saying, we are going to let everyone go. We start with a new team. Other than training, what else would you advise them? Okay.
Now, in fact, let me give you one last reason why I think the turnover is high. Unfortunately, when supply outstrips demand, you have that problem. If you want to advertise for a sales job and you're in recruitment, your biggest challenge is receiving those CVs because, yes. So the supply is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. So consequently, the demand side, those who want salespeople are thinking, really, what is there to think very highly about? If we want them tomorrow, we'll get 100 of them. And if we will tell them we're going to be, even if you're not paying them anything, you see them all over walking around. Commissions. So because supply far outstrips demand, then that's another challenge. Now coming back to your question. Having then understood what I've said in terms of this is the reason why that happens. Now, the perception, many business owners, especially those who are starting up and everything, is that what I will do is I will focus on what I do. This is what I'm good in. For instance, I am very good in digital marketing, or I am very good in I'm very good in making pottery. And this is what I'm good in. This is my business. Then I will recruit salespeople. And these salespeople, it is their job to bring in business. I don't care. My job is this. You very quickly realize that running a business doesn't work like that. And you realize, and we have people who call us, say, I have a team. This is what I do. I'm very good at this. What I want you to do is just train them, and then they sell. I just do this. I just want to see results. And very quickly they realize just how frustrating that is because it doesn't work. Now, To answer your question, I'll use a client, the one I was telling you about, whom we were working with October, November, December last year. They had reached a point where now that frustration had kicked in. The churn is so high. We are losing them. They even knew whom they were losing them to. And where the salespeople were going to, why they were being paid slightly less. And so as a business owner, you feel it. You're investing money, they leave. You're investing money, they leave. First of all, if I may just backtrack a bit, you will find that many organizations, when they start, they say, come train our salespeople. And many times tell them no. Let them, first of all, understand what they're going through. Then we can work with them. And those who refuse, but they give 3 to 6 months. And you will find many times, come the 3rd month or the 6th month, they are down to 10% of what they're. And remember, right at that time, now, you would have invested in training and they have left. And sometimes they argue, no, had we trained them, they would have left. And it's not a chicken and egg case, no. They would still have left because they didn't quite know what they were getting themselves into. Now, what happened with this client, and this perhaps will help answer your question, instead of seeing it from a point of desperation, point of weakness, see it as from point of strength. How do you do this? Own the process. Because when you say the other job is to sell, I pay them, that is abandoning the process. When I say own the process, see it from a point of strength, and this is what we did with this client, we create the structure such that you are very clear what you want from your salespeople. When they come, they know if you're not performing in this manner, after this period of time, we will release you. Now, this is the culture you're creating. You're not now, they know when they come. And because in this particular client, they're not even measuring in terms of what. So you're clear. You know what the salesperson is the poem, this is what they intended to do. And now, then that happens, what happens there is, as I said, you're coming from a point of strength. The feeling of desperation and frustration starts falling away. Now you shift responsibility to the salesperson. But does it mean they won't leave? No, they will leave. However, the kind of culture you're creating within your sales department is that of performance. In addition to that, business owners who have tried to jumpstart their sales by getting a very good salesperson out there have found it backfires. Growing their own crop of salespeople has worked very well for them. Now, I've just said two contradicting things. One, let them go, on the other hand, grow with them. And that is the spectrum across which you will find many businesses thrive. Yes, we're going to grow with them. And when they make a mistake, we're still going to groom them. Especially if they're nascent, they're infant salespeople, we're going to grow with them. And that has worked very well for growing businesses. Still, if you are prepared to if the need to be able to let go of them needs to be there. Because a salesperson who is too comfortable, that also becomes a problem. Because remember, it is not a desk job. Yeah. He needs to hunt. He needs to look for work. And if he's not, if he wants work to come to him, then maybe sales is not what he should be going into. So somewhere in between having measuring what is it's a balance, yes, and growing your crop of salespeople, that is where the measure is. Disowning the process and hoping it is going to work because I'm paying them a lot, it doesn't work like that.
But for example, let's use myself as an example. I would say my expertise is in HR training. So I want you to go and get business. So I can't be doing the sales and marketing, and then I'm also doing the execution. So how do you balance that too?
Now,
especially as a business owner.
Now, the issue of measurement comes in. And what is it that you're expecting, and how are they doing? I think as a business owner, back to the examples I shared, the need to understand, and many business owners, I would urge them to have an understanding of the sales function. Okay. Because many of them don't, and they want somebody who does to do it for them.
So if I understand you well, it's I have to put myself in the sales person's shoes, get to understand who is our target market, what are the challenges, how do we approach them.
Precisely.
So it's not that I'm outsourcing or delegating the whole of the sale, the aspect of sales and client acquisition to this person and expecting them to do magic.
Precisely. And there are businesses out there who tell solopreneurs, as they are called, individual, that we will do the selling for you. You just sit back and they have found that niche. How effective that is, I'm yet to find out. What I do know is it still becomes a challenge because as a business owner and you're one, detaching yourself from any of the
processes,
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you need to go out and sell. But have an understanding in the same way in which, as a business owner, you quickly discover that if you don't have some basic understanding of financial statements or finances, it becomes a struggle because you really don't know. But it doesn't mean that you have to go and get a CPA. It doesn't mean, no, you just have a simple understanding of what it means so that of what financial statements look like, or a working tool to help you measure your finances. Are you making money or not making money? It's a simple tool that you can work with. So in the same way, detaching yourself, and remember what I told you, sales is seen as a virus.
You're out there.
So that even the business owner doesn't want to think, I don't want to be that. Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't afford not to be that. You need to understand what that is. And for instance, you have an accountant who goes into business and they look lowly at marketing and they figure somebody else is to, but they quickly realize, you know what, my detachment from marketing is not adding value to my business. Let me have an understanding. I'm not telling you to become a marketer. No, you don't have to be. But you need to have an understanding. And in this day and age where information is literally, as they say, at our fingertips, I think that is an area which we can look at. Other people would argue and say, you know what, I'll just partner with somebody whose forte is that. Good for you. Now we're not talking about employees anymore. That's now a different model altogether, different aspect altogether. So to answer your question in a nutshell, for the business owner, one, understand what is expected. And simple things. How do I measure sales? What exactly is required? Whom exactly am I targeting? Then when this gentleman comes in or lady comes in, be very clear on what is expected. And as frustrating as turnover is, the truth is, the first 2-3 years of business, forget about even selling. By the time you understand what you're doing, it's pretty frustrating. Forget about even now. It's upheaval.
The proof of concept.
Itself. Forget about even selling. But we tend to see selling because it is so. It's somebody else. I think I'm putting money else when it's moving out. But precisely the proof of concept. Before what you're trying to create works, it's a huge challenge. Even you, many times, even the business owner isn't quite sure. They have an idea. That's generally how it works. Even for them, what they were thinking, vision as it's called, unfolds as they see and they have an idea. But what exactly it's going to be takes some time. It may even mean being kicked out of an office. It may mean being unable to meet your day-to-day. So sales is only one aspect, but for some reason it is. These are challenges that any business owner goes through in terms of growing their business. Nonetheless, confining ourselves to selling, I think take back control. And recruit knowing, and before you realize the kind of salesperson you want, it's experimental. It's experimental. One of the things perhaps as a tip I can give you is our listeners is when you're recruiting, look for somebody who's has a capacity to take some risk. Yeah. Not wild risk, but somebody who has a capacity to take risk. Because there is no science to selling. There is the science to measuring it, but there is no science to selling. Because as I said, it's human interaction. Human interaction today, I'm talking to Perminus, I explain to him something, I say it works perfectly. I go to our cameraman here, I say the same thing, it backfires. So they don't get where I'm coming from. So because of that dynamism, and so the before you get the person who's getting it right. Secondly, as the business is growing, you will find you decide, you know what, I've tried this thing of releasing them and I'm releasing them. It's becoming too expensive for me. And even as you're releasing them, you're also changing your remuneration model, packaging to suit what you're learning, because it's experimental. However, and you might decide, you know what, even if they're struggling, let me keep them. However, if they're struggling for too long, that also becomes a problem, because when you're not succeeding in selling, it starts eating into you. And when you're not growing in selling, it starts eating into you. And then you become a toxic employee, and that now becomes a bigger problem. We get asked by our clients, so how long should I keep a salesperson for? And this is what is recommended. 3 months incubation period. And there, it's everything in terms of understanding the product, shadowing other salespeople, getting to understand what is required, an induction process, if I may. Another 3 months to release them. So anywhere between 3 months and 12 months is a good time to do so, because the next 3 months you might find when they're out in the field, they're struggling with this, but they can be worked out.
Okay.
But anything, and by the way, in this 3 month period, I am not saying you entertain toxicity. No, I'm just saying generally somebody who's willing to grow, potential,
and, it's only that they're struggling,
yes. Yeah.
that you can support them on.
Absolutely. And what that means from a business perspective is, even in terms of your budgets, now that you have an indicator that I can 6 months, 12 months, I know how much I should put aside for this. Again, control. You're not coming from a point of desperation and fear and weakness and hopelessness. You're coming from a point of strength.
And sometimes I see that because a client comes and they tell you, we have a position, we want to recruit 2 salespeople. So when we present candidates for interview, let's say 10 of them, they get all excited. And now it's from 2 now to they want to recruit 6 people. But they don't have the budget for the extra 4. And what happens is they'll join and the kind of speed they're taken through now. And you find, and probably even the 6 of them would have worked, but because the firm really needs results very fast to cover for the shortfall.
Precisely.
They don't have a choice now. They keep on now letting them go.
So you accelerate the learning curve abnormally.
Yes. And the end result,
it backfires.
It backfires for the company and even
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so
that's a typical business owner problem. You imagine, and I guess it comes with being a business owner because you're a risk taker. So you assume you've seen potential. So you assume this person is going to give me returns.
Them,
yes, I'm going to give me returns.
Not knowing that in your pocket you only have funds, resources for 2 people.
True. And nonetheless, the business person thinks, let me take a risk with them. They will bring in the money to pay for themselves and steal the business. And that's a typical business owner thinking, because the risk takers, they forget that person is not them.
Interesting. So now as we come to the end, and there's something very unique that you said, that many of the salespeople are accidental sales. Majority of them didn't want to be in that profession or in this profession. What would be your message? Someone who's just started out, they've done 1 year, 2 years, and it's working, and they're making some decent money, but at the back of their mind, they're really not that fully invested. What would you tell them?
If they're not fully invested in the selling, there's a gentleman in the insurance industry for 3 years. He was mediocre at best. And for whatever reason, the institution kept him for that period of time. And now different institutions do different things. I mean, there are salespeople out there who've been in the same company 10 years. So it's not unusual. But then the sales manager decided he's going to release him. Oh, but there's something else in terms of retention. It matters who is managing them. Yes. It matters who is managing this. It is a salesperson's job. Sales manager's job is not everybody's cup of tea. Yeah. Because remember, the systems and structures in the pyramid, he cannot use them to manage the sales team. So it's not everybody's cup of tea. A sales manager is almost like a parent. And when I say that, people start imagining that I'm not going to parent. They're not children. Actually, in many ways, they are not children, true, but in many ways, your interaction with them is almost parental. Because this is somebody who's, they say that when you get to work, leave your personal problems outside. Okay, possibly that can work, but in sales, it cannot. The emotional highs and lows of an individual who's going to track another individual are such that you need the sales manager to understand this person fully. And when I say understand him, I mean intimately, where he lives, what makes him, because those things around it are going to affect his selling. Now, coming back to your question, what would I tell them? This gentleman who was about to get fired, and so the sales manager who was coming to fire him was traveling from Mombasa to come and fire him in Nairobi here. Unfortunately, the manager got an accident and his car rolled and he died. As tragic as that sounds, for whatever reason, this guy was coming to be fired. Suddenly his sales started going. It was quite a paradox. He even became the best salesperson. I'm sharing that anecdote because you could be in those 2 years, but the truth is it's because you are struggling, because you're not doing what you need to do. And many of them, almost all of them, know exactly what they're doing wrong. So it could be you're not seeing enough people, or you're struggling with this, or you're not shadowing. But if you've done so that's what my message to them is. Before you throw in the towel, be clear that you have done what needs to be done to excel, including shadowing somebody whom you admire in your team and asking them to guide. There's no harm. There's no shame in asking for help. Unfortunately, in a society where, and especially a country where people find it as if it's shameful to ask for help. But there's no shame in asking for help. So that my message to them was, before you throw in the towel, if, however, after doing all that, you find it's not for you, never regret it, because I promise you, and I speak from experience, that those 2 years of being out there and having no problem meeting people will turn out to be such a massive blessing in terms of return on investment, because the biggest challenge very many people in the pyramid have is that they don't know how to go out and to interact with people out here, engage others. They don't know that. And when you get into the pyramid, or whatever it is you go, even if you go and start your own business, the immediate challenge you see is, how will I get clients? And it turns out to be a massive bill. So either way, there is no loss. It'll be very clear why you're leaving.
Okay, good. So, final question now, and it's you who's brought this up. A sales manager is supposed to behave like a parent.
Successful sales managers.
Yes. But all I see is sales managers are supposed to push for numbers. They're supposed to sort of wield the big stick. So if the manager watching this, how do they reconcile that fact?
The sales manager is almost like, use the word chameleon or Jekyll and Hyde. There's what is expected of you by your bosses.
Yes.
Then there is what is on the ground. Now, I'm not saying even parents discipline their children. Even parents wield the big stick. Please don't mistake the word parenting here. Don't mistake the word, but it doesn't mean because you're a parent you're coddling. No, you're not coddling. No. Though by the way, absolutely. Though by the way, there's a manager I know. His team, whenever he would come, in fact, most of his team members were ladies. He'd bring chocolate and my goodness, they would sell for him. So if that is what it takes for your team to thrive, absolutely do it. So let us not mistake parenting for coddling.
Okay.
Yes, let us be clear, not coddling. But that whole thing of being prepared to groom someone, grow with them, feel that you finding joy in their growth, because it's not for everyone. Giving them room to make mistakes. Yeah. And at the same time, shielding them from the forces that want results yesterday. That is not everybody's job. That is what I mean by parenting. Now, they will make mistakes, which will require the big stick, and you wield it, or you unleash it on them, because
it's also your responsibility.
It's also your responsibility. Absolutely, it's also your responsibility. And so that's what I mean by that. So to answer your question, that manager who finds themselves in that position, and that is what I would advise them. Or something else, where sales managers are concerned, one of the biggest mistake some businesses make is, because Perminus is our best salesperson, we will make him the sales manager. It backfires spectacularly. Rule of thumb, if you have a very good salesperson, please help them grow as salespeople, as a salesperson. If, however, and this will be an outlier, if, however, they demonstrate leadership skills, and this is an outlier, it does not happen like that, then maybe sales managers are more inclined to having a leadership capacity than they are having excellence in selling.
So they'll be able to motivate individuals, they'll be able to give them the resources.
Even show them how to sell.
Even show them
how to sell. Okay. But they are not necessarily stellar sellers. No. Because again, one of the things a sales manager, anybody in selling will tell you, a sales manager knows, if you cannot sell, your team does not respect you. It's very unusual. In other management jobs, you don't have to be able to know how to do it. But in selling, your inability to sell means
to be a downfall.
They will not respect you. They will not necessarily show you that they will not respect you. If they're not respecting you as a manager, then what are you doing?
So we can agree it's all about leadership.
Coming back to, yes, ultimately it would rise and fall with leadership.
The success of your department, the success of your team, the success of even your business, as far as the sales contribution, it all has to do with your leadership, whether you're the business owner or the sales manager.
True. And the reason why I'm hesitant in saying, agreeing 100% is because I don't want salespeople listening to this. Business owners, I agree. I don't want salespeople listening to this, resigning to fate and saying that I did not have a good, I did not have a good manager. Yeah. So I just want them to resign to fate. There's an element they have to play. But from a business owner's perspective, absolutely.
Yeah.
Leadership, that you cannot run away from.
And the reason why I brought it up is because then if I've done all I could as Perminus, as the business owner, or as John, then it will be very easy to let this person go.
Absolutely. Yes, there's even
the other way around, where now you abdicate your role in terms of either giving mentorship, resources, and then you expect magic from the start.
And when it doesn't happen, you start complaining these people are leaving, and yet I am. Yeah. So structure.
Okay.
Structure, I would say, as I said, 6 months, 12 months.
Yeah.
And we help clients with that. This is what we proposed. This month 3, month 6. This is an onboarding process, and this is what it will take depending on what it is that you do. So that way, from a budget perspective, from a leadership perspective, the level feeling of frustration and significant. Yeah. So that's what I would advise.
Fantastic. Great. So thank you, John, for that informative information. Even for me, who's been interacting with sales professionals for the last 12 years, as we recruit for different clients, I would say there are a few things I've picked, and especially that aspect of giving them time. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, you need to see how they're doing and even supporting them. I think that's one of the greatest things that I've picked. Yeah. Great. So if you're watching us, we'll be hosting other specialists so that we can be able to learn from various consultants. What do they do, to make their team better, to make their departments better, and even ultimately their business. So thank you very much for watching. And if this is your first time you're visiting this channel, do subscribe, because on a weekly basis we do share informative videos on how you can be a better leader for your, not only for your organization, but also for your own sake. So thank you very much, and see you next time.